Hi and welcome to another StudioX video. This video is second part of the previous challenge of Reboot Your Skill Program. So in the first part, we have downloaded the attachments from the email, which contain Excel files. Now, all of these Excel files we have received in this Excel Invoices folder. Now, if you open these Excel files, it contains some data. So now the next step that we have to do is move data from an Excel file to the application and the other way around. It means we have to read the client code, which is this cell number E8 from each Excel file which we downloaded and enter that value here. So it is 564, 564. And now this discount value will come. This discount value is what we have to put back here in cell number E18, and this total will be updated or some calculations will be done in the Excel file, right? And the last thing that we have to do is we have to sign with the name and email address in this particular cell, which is A31. So these are the steps we are going to perform. So it involves both the file and folder automation because we will be iterating through all the files in the folder. Then Excel automation because we'll be reading the data from Excel file and also the writing the data back. And the UI automation because this is where we are going to enter the discount value and click on this button. So these three scenarios is what we are going to cover. Now, one thing that we have to take care is there is an exception scenario where if you go to the Excel invoice number 2 and you put this client code, which is 678 into the application, 678, and you press this button, instead of the discount, you are getting this message, right? So it is one of the exceptions. It is not the path, the regular path the automation will follow. Now here you have the condition that you have to handle in your automation. So we'll also look at how to handle these steps in your automations or how to handle such kind of errors, right? So this is what we are going to cover, and then we'll be saving these these Excel files as PDF. So let's start with the second part. We are done with the Outlook thing, so I'm just collapsing it. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have to iterate through each file in this folder, right? It means file and folder automation. So I'll go to the section of files and folder. And here you will see for each file in a folder, okay, it will be in a file section. Okay, so you can see here, for each file in folder activity is what we're going to use. So I'll put it here. For each file in which folder, we will browse to the folder. It's somewhere here. So Excel Invoices folder is what we have to browse. So for each file in that folder, so for each iteration, the current file will represent. So when we are in the first iteration, this becomes your first file, and the second iteration, this becomes your second file or the current file, right? So this is what the current file represents as in your automation, this current file. It means in that particular iteration, what file it is at. Okay, now include subfolders. We do not need it because it's a single folder. It does not contain multiple subfolders, right? So we'll skip all of these filters which are not needed, right? So once we have that current file, so in the first iteration, this becomes your file, which is current file. What do you want to do? We want to read the client code, right? Let's open the file. We want to read the client code, which is here, E8, right? So let's use the activity first to attach the Excel resource, right? So go to activities again and say use Excel file and put it inside the for each loop, because for each file, we want to attach that file in the automation, which is an Excel file, read the data, put that value in the automation, UI application, So for each of these files, we want to repeat all the actions, right? So that's why it is inside this scope. So use Excel file. Which Excel file do we want to use? So we will say current file and simply current file, full name. This will include the whole path as well as the extension. So make sure you use full name. Done. Now this is the file and this is just the reference of the file, right? Now the next thing that we have to do is we want to read the cell value, right? So we will again go to the Excel section, cell, right? Read cell value. It's right there. We will drag it inside the scope of use Excel file and we want to read the cell. The cell that you want to read is click on plus, say Excel, indicate in Excel. You need to indicate a template file. This occurs when the Excel file is not specified or is dynamically determined at the run time. Do you want to select a template file? Say yes, right? So now this is what the scenario we have right now here. So this file right now is going to be created at the runtime. This is not in hand for the automation for us to directly point it out, right? If you say indicate in Excel, this will again give you the error. Now let's see how to actually, exclude this error. The first way is if you are hard coding the path of your Excel file. So right now this is a dynamic value, right? And you cannot indicate the cell in a dynamic Excel file, which is not yet available, right? So for example, if I say simply browse, and let me point out to the Excel file, not this, Excel file invoice one number, right? It knows that this is the file which is existing at this path and it is right there in the folder with us right now, correct? And this is the reference of this file. Now, if I say read cell value and now if I click on plus button Excel and say indicate in Excel, you will be able to indicate because it is already there on your system, right? And simply let me say confirm, right? This path is already available for you and this file is already there with you. That's why you are able to indicate in Excel. Now, if this is your dynamic path, dynamic as it is not yet existent, it will be created at the runtime. That path, that particular variable will be available only at when you run the automation, right? So that's when you are not able to indicate it, right? So for that, you have to use a template file. Now the template file helps you to design your automation so that when you run the automation, it determines, okay, these are the cells and these are the, these are the cells where they have to read or write or whatever, right? So in such scenarios, we use the template file. Let's create this template file and see how it works. Before that, let me bring it back to the original state because current file is your variable name or the dynamic file name that you will be using, and the full name path is what we'll be using, right? So this will be, as I said, when you run the automation, then it will iterate, then it will get the path, then only it will feed the value right here. It cannot determine right now, correct? So we will use template file. Now where the template file is existing, the good approach is you put it inside the project folder. So I'll keep it inside that only. So if you go there, open project folder, and this opens your project folder where all your files are. Let's copy any of these files from your invoice and put it here. This you just need to copy because we want to use it as a template to design the automation. This will not be used at the runtime by your automation. This is just when you are designing it. Okay, so template, that's all. Now if you give the template file here, this is the template file. Now it knows which Excel file it has to indicate to, right? So that's why now you can easily indicate. But remember this in mind, that this template is not going to be used at runtime. It will be iterating. These files. It will be reading cell values from these, writing here, right? But just to design our automation, we are using the template. I'll just repeat it again. I know I said it multiple times already. So yeah, when we want to indicate, click on plus, say Excel, and indicate in Excel. Now this is the template file. Now first thing is client code we want to read. There was some issue with the extension, so I just opened the template again so that I can actually, so as you can see, some Excel add-in error was there. So sometimes this happens. Click on the plus button and again say indicate in Excel, and this is the cell you want to read, and say confirm. Get it? Now it says save to. Where do you want to save? Let's create a variable and name it as client code, right? Done. We got the client code, and now this client code is what we want to type into our application right here. Correct? So I'll say type into activity. This is what we use to type anything into a UI based application. Now, one thing again that you have to take care is you are connecting to a new resource, which is a web page. So before you use a type into, you have to use a resource activity, which is use application browser. So let's drag it here, correct? And say indicate application to automate. Indicate the web page. This is where done, right? Now what we want to do next is now use the type into activity. And click indicate this is the target. This is where you want to type the client code, and this is the anchor. Once it is identified, click on the confirm button, right? Now, what do you want to type? We want to type the value, which is the client code, which we saved or which we read from the Excel file, right? So I'll say plus and use variable client code as text. So we choose this. Done. Now, the next thing that we have to do is once we enter the client code here, for example, which is 564, right? Let's go back and enter 564 and click on this button. So we have to click on this button next and then read the value. So let's use the click activity now. And I'll put it here after the type into. Indicate in Chrome. This is your click button. And this is your anchor. This is small. Done. Click on confirm. Now you have clicked on that particular button. Next thing that you want to do is you want to read the discount value. Correct? Now, one exception here is either you can get the discount value or you can either get the message, which is if there is no discount available, right? You will get the message. So for that, this exception one is invoice number 2, which is client code 678. So let's use this 678 to actually read the value. And when you press this and you get this message, it means this time the discount is 0. So to check whether a particular element is available on screen or not, we use an activity called check app state, right? Check app state is what you use it. So I'll drag it after the click button and check if that particular message appears or not. So indicate in Chrome and okay, this becomes your anchor. But let's see if the target is correct. Right. So although the target represents only this particular checkbox, when I click on the settings button, you can actually see it reads the whole text. This client doesn't benefit from any discount, right? So it reads the whole text, although the rectangular box is just here. So you can click on the settings and you can actually check the details, right? So I say confirm. If this particular message comes, it means your discount is 0. It means you want to enter in your template or in your current Excel file the client discount as 0, right? So what we are going to do is we will say right cell, right? See, look at the scoping here, right? We are inside the browser, but that browser is inside the use Excel file. That's why we are able to write to a particular cell, because we are already inside a Excel file resource, right? So that's the reason the right cell is available here. Now what to write? We want to just simply write some text, which is 0. Right? And where to write, click on the plus, indicate in Excel, and this is where cell number E18 is the client discount. Say confirm. I have opened so many files. Do not confuse yourself because we are all always indicating in the template only. Right? So this is where we want to write as the 0. If this is not the case, if we actually get 534 some actual discount, right, then we want to read that value. For that, we have to use an activity called as get text, and we will put it inside target does not appear. So if this message appears, it means we have to put discount as 0. If this does not appear, we want to read the actual discount. So indicate in Excel and say this is the value you want to read. This is the discount anchor, and click on the confirm button. Now where do you want to save it? Save Excel, indicate in Excel, and E18 is where you want to save it directly. So you have two choices. One is you can click on the plus button. You can create a variable. Just now it is giving me the use variable because I have already mentioned the value. Otherwise, you'll get the create variable option. You can create that variable and then use right cell. Inside the right cell, you can use the variable further. Maybe I can show you right now. Let me clear the value. Now you can see create variable option, right? So if I click on create variable and say this is the discount and press OK. Now I got this value in a variable called discount. The next activity that I will have to now use is the right cell. So these are like two options you can follow. This is because if you want to use this discount further in your automation, so it's good that you store it somewhere so that multiple times you can use it. But if you're using it only or just once in your automation, then you may not require it to save it as a variable so that it saves your number of activities that you're using, right? So what to write? You want to write the variable which is discount. Discount as text. Where to write? Then again you will get the option to indicate in Excel. This is where you want to write and say confirm. Right? So these two are completely doing the same thing, but yeah, it's up to you. These both are completely fine to do. Now, once we are done writing the value back to the Excel file, now we want to save it in the format of PDF, and we want to save it inside a new folder, which is PDF Invoices, right? So let me go back to the automation now. So this is where we are doing the UI automation, reading the cell value, and this is your Excel file. And this represents your current file you are iterating, which is the Excel file, correct? Now, we want to save this current file as PDF, okay? So it will iterate, it will pick the first file, read that file content, put it in the UI page, take the value back from the UI page and enter it in the Excel back. Then once all of this is done, then we want to save this file as PDF, right? So this would be your last action. So let's say save Excel file as PDF, and there you go, the last activity, right? This particular Excel file and save as file, click on the plus button and say current file name, right? Replace existing. If already it has been saved, then you just want to replace it. Now we are done. We are reading the files, all the files from the folder, manipulating, reading, and saving it as PDF, right? So that's what we are going to do now. So let's see what happens if we run this automation. I'll close all the files. I will delete all of my files from here as well. Okay, and Outlook, we will run it from the start now. So the automation has started. So I've actually mentioned the message boxes in my automation so that I'll come to know which email it is reading, right? So this is the third email, I guess, third or the fourth email we are at, and it is done. It is entering the data now and reading the data from the UI. The next value, then it gets the message. This is the third invoice. And then the fourth one, right? Now, once all of this is done, it has to save these files as PDF. The automation is done. The last one was successful. If you go back here, sorry, this is your project folder. The mistake that we did here is we did not mention where we want to save the file, right? What we did is we actually mentioned the path as the current file in itself. It means the relative path. So that's why we have all the files saved in your project folder, you can see, right, as the PDF. But one thing is we have the extensions also with the PDF files, right? So we are going to correct this mistake in the next video. We are going to move all of these files in the correct folder and remove the extension as well. We are also going to publish this project in Orchestrator and run it from the assistant. So stay tuned for the next video, and thank you so much for watching.